Dang it! Where does it hit stream?
Lol.
I can't wait till like fall when that won't be an issue anymore. I hate our AC.
Hopefully.
We have a broken dishwasher and a friggin' 70-year-old AC, it sounds like right now.
Yeah, that sucks.
Alright. Anyway.
Let's rock.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Charged Up. 14, maybe? I should really keep track of
15.
that better.
No, 14, because last week was unlucky number 13.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't doubt me. I doubt myself enough. I don't need you doubting me too. Anyway, I am Justin, your host, as always, and I am joined solely by my co-host, the self-proclaimed Marvelous Iggy.
Pennywise did nothing wrong. He is the most trusting clown in the world.
I won't see it with you, and it's... whatever. We're moving on past that.
Fans of the show, get ready for an It watch-along at some point. Hopefully, maybe around, I don't know when, but soon. Justin won't be there because he's definitely scared of clowns.
That'd be a good Halloween one. Like, my bachelor party is the week... Or, well, school ending plus bachelor party. Like, kind of all that together is around the end of October. So there's probably going to be a few special episodes then, so...
Yeah. I do want to do a review of the new one that's coming out at the end of the beginning... 1 month from now. A month from now, actually. Because for whatever reason, I wasn't looking forward to it. Now I'm really looking forward to it. From the last trailer, it's like I'm expecting a personal review for me when I see it the week after it comes out.
Well, watch the new one and then do the watch along with Thomas of the old one, and then you can compare the two back to back in the commentary.
Yes, I will do that.
Work. Cool. Anyway, now that we're done with our business chat, like I said, it's just us two this week. We had a last minute guest drop out, so I'm sorry about that. But we're just going to go through some quick topics and a little bit of news. There really wasn't a lot this week. So I say maybe this will be a short one, but the last time I said that, we went 2.5 hours. So we'll see.
Anytime Justin says a short one, it's usually going to mean, another 30 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, because it's like, we don't have much to talk about. So clearly we won't go as long, but then we just spend like an hour on each topic.
Yeah, for real quick before we move on, the longest, it's still a running joke with my dad, not so much now, but when we were younger, that when my dad said, okay, son, I'm going to pick you up at 4:30, and we'd always say, okay, 5:30, because he was always habitually somewhat late for whatever reason. Never on his own fault, just some things always just happen. It's just like, no, I'll be at 4:30. Okay, Dad, see you at 5:30, and usually we were right. So I just always find that funny.
Yeah, my mom's side of the family is like that. Anytime we get together for a holiday, it's like we tell them to show up an hour earlier than we expect them, so that they'll show up on time.
Nice.
It's been working. Although they still end up being late now because there's a lot of kids in that family. So, preparing a lot of kids to come over is not easy. But,
no, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
But let's start with your topic because I feel like it's actually like nerd related and mine's kind of not.
Yeah, I mean, yours is too, especially considering all things. But I wanted to sort of talk about the anti-hero. And it's just something that's been bothering in my head for, I want to say, a couple months. That, I'm not saying that the anti-hero is dead, because it's not, because there's still plenty out there. But, like, I feel like you're, and mine's age group, Justin, we grew up at sort of the high point of anti-heroes, like the entire 1990s.
Yeah, the introduction of Deadpool.
Introduction of Deadpool, Wolverine's skyrocketing popularity, all types of movies and culture. Forgive me, but professional wrestling, it became more popular to be sort of, the one who fights against authority versus and not be entirely a good guy. And I just noticed that throughout, I want to say at least the last 10 years, that they still exist, but like they're either toned down really, really hard. Like even like, I'll use a comic example, Wolverine. Wolverine was the hardest of the hardest, the most anti-hero. When you think of an anti-hero, you think of him. For the longest time, it was either him. You don't. Well, like, having read X-Men comics back then, like he was the hardcore guy. He was the one that did things the other X-Men didn't do. But I would say over the last 5 to 10 years, like Wolverine has sort of, they've softened him in a way, and to better of his character, he's not just the killer; he's a more well-rounded character. And then I look at other media, like, to instance, the new RoboCop movie, or not RoboCop. Like, to me, they're just, or like in professional wrestling, there's not a lot of people like that, like, say, who would be fighting against authority and, fighting not only just bad guys, but good guys as well. And I just find it interesting how it's not dead because it still exists, but how it's so, there's not as many as there used to be. In video games, like in video games and comic books and even in movies, you pretty much have, traditional straight-laced superheroes. They have a little bit more edge to them, but they're not nearly as, say, like an early '90s action hero, like, say, a Jean-Claude Van Damme or Sylvester Stallone or even Arnold Schwarzenegger in certain films. It's nothing like that. I just find that really interesting.
Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily say there's not as many, like, anti-heroes anymore. I'd say it's more a case of, like, all of the kind of characters that were just black and white have taken on those shades of gray, because I feel like in a lot of cases these characters, for one, they've been around for so long that now they're kind of starting to get those more interesting storylines. So, like, with Deadpool, for example, just because that's kind of the one I know of most. Like, I've followed literally his run from, like, 98 to, not current, but, like, probably 2008, 2010, somewhere in there. Pretty much, like, everything he's had in that time. And he started out literally just as, like, a mercenary, like a plot device, for the New Mutants, or X-Men in that case. And, he was pretty popular, so they brought him in for a little mini-series, and, like, in that, he had his tragedy, the fact that, like, he had cancer and everything like that, but it was still pretty much just like I kill who I'm told to kill, that's what I do. Like, he wasn't overtly a villain, but he was kind of the definition of anti-hero.
Right.
And in more recent years, he's taken on, like, the hero role by, like, kind of reluctantly going back and saving the day. Or, like, being really, like, pompous and dickish about it, but, like, showing up to, like, completely just save the world when everyone else dies or something. Or, like, when he screws it up and he's like, okay, I hurt this, I should probably fix it. Like, anti-heroes don't do that. They just, they're like, I'm going to say the Punisher, but I know he has his kind of, his hero moments too. But they're more like the Punisher.
Well, yeah, but I would say out of current media, I would say the Punisher is the only one who's really still that anti-hero where he still kills people and he's still, like, he takes the law in his own hands and he's above what a vigilante would be. Right,
exactly. And he's probably the purest definition of anti-hero still. But yeah, even he still has kind of his moments of, like, heroism. Even, like, if you look at, not the best example, but Daredevil Season 2, like, he comes back in the end and, like, helps them in that big battle against the Hand. Even after he, like, chained Daredevil to a roof. Like, that was pretty anti-hero-ish. But he still comes back and helps to save the day. And so, like, there are those examples of anti-heroes, but they're getting their shades of gray because you can't just be one thing forever. So, like, a lot of the heroes, that are just solely heroes, even have their anti-hero moments because, like, you need to kind of have those moments where they fail or whatever the case is. Like, again, not the best example, but there was that whole Captain America arc lately where he, claimed to be Hydra. And that was...
Well, he is... Yeah, well, that's what's going on right now. He is... his memories are altered that he believes he was fighting for not Nazi Germany, Hydra this entire time.
Right. But the point is, like, he's not a villain, even though he's a Hydra. He's just kind of more like he's a different kind of hero. So, like, they took this, everyman, like, well, not everyman, but, like, the character everyone wants to be, and, like, even kind of turned him into an anti-hero now. And so, like, there's just a lot of, like, flipping sides and everything and all of this. Like, you can create a character that's an anti-hero. And if that's their status quo for a while, because they can stay in the supporting character field, like Wolverine did for years and years and years, that's all they are. But once they become, like, the spotlight, which is what's happening to Deadpool right now, you have to find something new to do with them. So that's when you add in those, like, moments of heroism, or, like, turn them into straight villains for a while, or, like, look at Venom. He's run the gamut as far as like villain, hero, anti-hero, like back to villain, like so it's kind of just a plot device, honestly, whatever they need them to be. I wouldn't
An
necessarily
evolution.
say there's less anti-heroes. I'd just say that some of the anti-heroes are becoming heroes, some of the heroes are becoming anti-heroes, some of the villains are becoming anti. Like,
Yeah.
it's just kind of flip-flopping more. It's not so black and white.
Yeah, I mean DC made a movie about anti-heroes last year in the Oscar award-winning Suicide Squad.
Ugh,
uh sorry, I had to.
I know.
Let me ask you this. Do you think, cuz I don't know kids today. I know
Kids
they play
these
Call of
days.
Duty, but like I mean like cuz we were kids who grew up in that era where like the cool characters were the one, like we're going to talk about Cable. Cable isn't an anti-hero, but he had that anti-hero look about him, and he
Mm-hmm.
was very much, at least his beginning days, was very much anti-hero. He didn't play well with the X-Men. He was on his own, and he did whatever he could take to get his mission done.
Mm-hmm.
We grew up in that generation where that was what a quote-unquote hero looked like,
Yeah.
where characters like, say, Superman or Captain America were considered obsolete. And I just find it really interesting that it's not really happening, but it's like where it's the same way. We're like, well, these characters don't matter because Punisher is still relevant in today's society, even more so than he's ever been. And like, do you think that in pop culture today and audiences today, do you think that kids want to be the anti-heroes, or do you think they just want to be Iron Man, who has his own share of demons? Which it doesn't make him an anti-hero, but he has his own problems that maybe people can relate with, versus just the gun-toting, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get the guy.
I think people relate to three-dimensional characters. It's not necessarily about being a hero or an anti-hero or, in some cases a villain, like the people that obsess over the Joker, for example. I think it's just they want a character to be more than just one thing. Like, a lot of people have problems, myself included, really have problems with Superman because like you can't. It's hard to relate to him. And again, this is all opinion. I'm not saying this is the fact. I'm just saying like this is how people feel. It's hard to relate to him because he's an alien. He's super powered. He can do like pretty much whatever he wants. He doesn't have the human qualities of like a street level character like Daredevil or like even Batman. On the DC side, like yes, they give him human stories as far as like the Clark Kent side of things and like figuring out his powers and coming to terms with like his mortality if they pull away the sun or whatever the case is. They find ways to give him, like humanized storylines and kind of give him those gray areas, like with the different kinds of kryptonite that can, make him change in some way and turn him into an anti-hero sometimes or whatever. Things like Bizarro Superman, where he has to come to terms with himself and see, his actions for how they affect the outsiders, like all that kind of stuff. But the fact is, like, there's these characters that are pretty much just good. Like, they exist to just be the hero. That's all people know. And then there's these characters that were literally built to be in that gray area. Like, sometimes they're worse, sometimes they're better, but they solely exist in the gray area. They're not the Superman or the Joker who are just good or just evil. And I think you can tell a lot more compelling stories with those gray area characters, which is hard to say, by the way, because you have more to play with from the start. You don't have to create situations where it causes conflict. They just exist in that space already. So yeah, some people just like the Iron Man, which, in that case, like, he has his demons too. But I think a lot of people are...
In a bottle.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are more taken by these characters that are introduced from the start as flawed. And I think that's a lot of what was with Deadpool. Like, even in his first, was it 4-issue miniseries, they tackled his almost depression and the fact that like, he couldn't die even though like his whole body hurt from the cancer and everything. Like, it was a really dark arc, and it was his first solo miniseries after that 1-issue appearance in New Mutants. So I think a lot of people attached to that, or like, I know I'm going back to Deadpool because, like I said, that's the one I know the most about probably as far as like the extensive arc. But there are other characters out there that have kind of been introduced in that same way, and I think a lot of new characters now are being like introduced from the start in that way. Because honestly, like I think audiences expect more now. Back in like the 40s and 50s, when a lot of these characters are first being created, it was just exciting to have them. Like
they were new, they were fresh, they had the spectacle of seeing, say Flash or Superman or Batman was enough, and they can just fight the good fight, defeat the crooked banker, and go home. Nowadays, you can't really do that, and that's why, totally agree.
Yeah. So you get these things where, like, you can take a character that's 70 years old, and it's like, well, crap, what can I do with him anymore? And you can, sometimes you can take them and, like, turn them into someone new, like all the female versions of these characters now that are, new characters, obviously, like Jane Foster as Thor, I don't know how to say her name, but Ironheart, the new
Riri Williams.
Yeah, Riri. Okay, that's what it is. The Amadeus Cho Hulk, like it's the same superhero but new characters. You have new stories to tell from these new characters, and I think it's a chance for them to kind of do a reboot. Like, you mentioned before about the MJ in Spider-Man: Homecoming. Which again, I know it's been out for a few weeks, but I don't like to get too much into spoilers, like just kind of suddenly. But like there is an MJ, and I made a big deal about like that's not who that is, blah blah blah. And that they can create their own, and like there's that same situation in comics where if you take a character that has been around for 50, 60 years, whatever the case is, and just like change them suddenly, like do a reboot, and they're like the same name and everything, but a totally different character. Like Wally West, for example. That was a big deal when they turned Wally West from like a white ginger kid to a black guy. And what was that, the New 52 when they made that change?
When they rewrote the universe. Well, the universe was rewritten by an unknown force. I won't say it for spoiler reasons, but because there's two Wally Wests out there right now.
Okay, so are they different characters, like just both named Wally West?
Yeah, they're different characters. Yeah, okay. The Wally West of the New 52 is for that specific universe that was created for a very specific reason by a certain character, and the Wally West of old is now back from the previous universe.
Okay, that's not so bad then. But it's that same idea of like, you take a character with a well-known name and just completely change everything about them and reintroduce them. And it's like, that's not that character anymore. Like, why didn't you just make a new character? And so, like, I know I'm kind of getting off the point, but I think that's a lot of what people, like what appeals to people is when you bring in a totally new character that might have ties to a different character. Like, Sam Wilson becoming Captain America, for example. And then it gives you a whole new avenue to tell new stories, or you just introduce a completely new character and have that be, like, a new anti-hero. Like, there was news recently about, like, a new kind of villain for Deadpool, because apparently they claimed that he'd never had his opposite before, which doesn't make any sense to me because he's had multiple. But yeah, some new character they introduced to be like the Joker to like Deadpool essentially, and so that's a character where starts out as a villain, but who knows where he could end up. There's been multiple things that have been like, foils to Deadpool and then like becomes love interest or his partner or whatever the case is. Agent X is an example. Like Domino, who's going to be in the movie. Like, he's always had, I think, a really rich gallery of like villains and side characters and things like that, which is kind of what happens from having a lead that is an anti-hero. Because you're not telling a hero's story. Like, he's just as bad as a lot of the people he takes down. So you have to find interesting ways to talk about that creates that kind of light and dark dynamic as far as good and evil, where it's just like, but he's worse than me, so... and that's way more interesting than just like, stop what you're doing, evildoer, I am here to save the day! So I think that's where a lot of it comes down, basically, is what I was trying to say.
I get you. I just feel like, and I'm not yearning for it. And again, I don't think they're dead. I just find it interesting how we're sort of shifting away from that sort of mindset, and maybe not less anti-heroes, but like you said, more just well-rounded characters. Mm-hmm. And even anti-heroes who just had one agenda are more rounded, like you said earlier about the Punisher, who is, pretty much kill anybody who's bad, and then you get more about his family and his, you know, they've gone to story arcs about his PTSD, because he does have that, depending on which story you read, you know, and it's not just, nobody's a one-trick pony anymore. You can't be in today's society.
No, and why would you want to write something like that?
Well, I mean, you could, if the point was to like reflect on an era gone by under a certain writer, you could do it, because they've done it before, where like it's a reflection of days past, but done in a modern sense. You can still do stories like that, but then you have to, but the inner workings of the character still have to be nuanced. But you can still homage those stories from the 40s to the 60s.
True.
I mean, like I'm reading, you know, a book from Dark Horse that's pretty much DC Silver Age, but with the modern trappings of a current day story.
Yeah, and that can be fun, just kind of like a nod to the past. But I like that more when it's like used in an interesting context. Like right. When the Marvel Universe collapsed and like Battle World happened, and they had all of these like new takes on those classic things, like Old Man Logan and stuff. And I'm not saying those were the best books, but it was that idea of like, you know, taking something that you know and kind of doing something new with it and new context. That's always fun. Yeah.
Speaking of which, you should read Black Hammer by published by Dark Horse Comics. That's the one I was referring to. You'll really like it. It's a good take on superheroes. That's what it is.
Okay. What does Dark Horse even own?
Hellboy. They publish all the Alien books. Okay. They do a lot of indie creator-owned stuff, which is what I read primarily from them. So,
because I think they used to have Star Wars, right, before Disney acquired them.
They had the Star Wars license for I want to say 20 years, and then, you know, Marvel bought Disney, and it was only a matter of time.
Nope, reverse that.
Disney bought Lucas, and it was only a matter of time before Marvel was going to publish their own.
Yeah.
But yeah,
because I knew that was like their big contract, and then they lost it. I wasn't sure what else they had. But...
Yeah, no, they're still healthy. I mean, you know, they still got Hellboy. Again, if you want an Alien or Predator comic, go to them. I think they publish Godzilla too. No, they don't publish Godzilla. That's IDW. But no, they still got some stuff. They're just, yeah, that Star Wars was a hit for them. Mm-hmm. was a beating loss, but hey, it's whatever. They're still trucking along.
Yeah. But no, there's another point I was wanting to make. Sorry. I don't know. I think one reason that anti-heroes are not necessarily more popular, but kind of like less noticeable now, because I think they're just, you know, every character in some ways is an anti-hero. That's what I mean. Like, they're more common, but you don't really think about it as much, is because of the reverse examples. Like, I kind of mentioned all the good people, but, like, take a character like the Joker. He's pretty much just evil. Like, just evil to be evil. And they've never really... Like, they've had some really good Joker arcs over the years, but they've never really, like, changed him in any way past that. There's been, like, some depth with his, like, relationship with Harley and stuff like that, which is just toxic, so that doesn't really help. But, you know, there's still that element of, like, oh, you know, he does have, like, some good toward, you know, certain people, but then he still, like, abuses them, and, like, it's just... Yeah, everything that they've tried to do to give him depth just makes him, honestly, more of a villain. And you always hear about people saying, like, oh, don't give, you know, the Joker an origin story, like, don't let us know who he is. His whole point is that he's an enigma. And, like, I think we've gotten to the point where that hurts the character, because there's no real more depth to him than just that. And I love the Joker. Like, that's from someone that, you know, like, pretty much only reads Batman comics when there's a Joker arc. Because I find him the most interesting villain, like, probably of any villain. And, you know, as far as villains go, he's great. But he's pretty much a one-trick pony of just, like, being this foil.
Yeah, but I will say with the Joker, and this is a line from The Killing Joke, if I'm going to have a backstory, I prefer to have multiple choice, which has led many writers to basically reinvent him. So while the cliche of the Joker is still the same, like, if you, like, I'll point to several different writers. One of my favorite Batman runs is run by a writer known as Grant Morrison. When he first made the Joker, it's your classic sort of Bruce Timm, you know, Joker that we all know, right?
Yeah.
Mr. J, that Joker. But then when you meet him like 50 issues down the line, I think it's maybe not that long, or approximate. Like, he's this different haircut, more psychotic, just like he has different personalities depending on what the writer has, and because he's like that's just how he is. Like he'll change. Like there was a point where he cut his own face off.
Yeah, I know. I
You
love
know,
that one.
just yeah, just because he could, and because like he just loves to change things up. So I I know we're going slightly off topic, but like the Joker does have an origin, and it's the origin you choose to be. Because he like even he like I said, he says like I prefer to have multiple choice. I don't even know what it is anymore because I'm just so crazy. I don't think he's a character that needs an origin that because of how he's been written over 30 years since Killing Joke. They can just reinvent him whatever, and they can just say, well, it's just how he's wanting. This is just how he wants to be right now.
Right, and the
it's a
origin
new
thing was just
interpretation
kind of an example. Like I was just basically saying that like because he really hasn't like changed over time, he's just kind of stayed like the psychotic like multiple personality guy. He's just a villain. Like that's all he'll ever be. He's not really a fleshed out character, even though he's great. And there are dimensions to him, but you can never really get attached to that. You know what I mean? He just
I don't
basically exists to be a foil.
Right, and I don't think you're supposed to get attached to characters like that. I mean, I think it's a lot of it has to do with specifically on the Joker is the fact he's been around for so long. A lot of it has to do with that. If you try to create a character like that now, I don't think you get away with it. But I think because you have the nostalgia and the history that many people generations have with the Joker, you can just keep doing the same thing, and that's what people are going to love about it.
Yeah, and that makes sense to me.
Similar with the Punisher, like he's been around since the 70s. You can get away with him just putting out a comic book where he just kills gangsters, and Punisher fans would still love it because that's what they've come to love. Versus you, like somebody from Image, a new writer, new artist, never even heard of, and they introduced to you this vigilante who kills. Like, they want more because they expect more. Versus these other characters, it's nice to expect more, but it's not necessarily, if they don't get it, as long as they get their touching the bases, if I'm using a sports metaphor for a moment, that's fine with them. And I know I'm like that with certain characters. Like, just give me this and I'll be fine.
Yeah, and again, I'm not knocking the Joker in any way. He's a great villain. But I'm just saying, like, I think like you said, if you made a character like that today, it wouldn't work. And I think that's, again, why the anti-hero works so well now. Because, like, you don't think about it. It's just a well-defined character that you never really know, if they're solely good or solely bad. So it's not so much that there's less anti-heroes. It's just that, pretty much every character now is more well-defined. So those examples like the Joker that aren't as well-defined, or, well, he's well-defined as a villain, but you know what I mean, like, well-developed, I guess, stand out more as just like, okay, that's just who he is. Like, I get that, and I'll take that, but I'm not going to get anything else from it. That kind of thing. Whereas all these other characters, like, they're not anti-heroes, but they're not really heroes, they're not really villains. They just kind of are there, like, kind of towing the line between the two. Sometimes.
I get you, yeah.
And that's fun. I think you can have more fun with that.
Yeah. If you're, let us know. What do you guys think about this? Who's your favorite anti-hero?
Yeah.
Do you have one? Do you hate anti-heroes? Because I know there's some people who won't read books. They won't ever read the Punisher because of who he is and what he does. I know people like that.
That's so weird to me. Because, like,
yeah,
I kind of like that. I like the characters that do bad things for the right reasons.
Yeah, Punisher's one of my favorite characters. And no, I'm not a gun-toting idiot just because I live in Texas. I just think his personal messed up psyche combined with what he does is super interesting, and he's basically a psychopath.
Yeah.
And I find that interesting.
And honestly, it's probably going to sound bad to say, but there's some interesting similarities between, like, him and the Joker, for example. Like, both of them don't really care about, like, what people, like, how people perceive them. They just are what they are. Like, they're not ashamed of that, like, Joker's obviously more kind of insane and unhinged about it, but, like, that's kind of the example I'm giving, is, like, Joker is just evil. Like, Punisher, he does similar things. Like, he just goes around, like, killing people without remorse, like, not quite making a game of it, but they showed in the Punisher teaser, the show teaser that they showed at Comic-Con that obviously hasn't gone public. Um, they showed him like watching a guy through like the sniper scope, um, like from really far away, and suddenly he gets like the guy he's watching is shot, and they zoom out like from the guy like probably 5 or 6 buildings over, to, like across town where the Punisher was shooting from, and it's like it's a game to him. Like it's nothing. It's not even hard. So like he didn't need to be that far away, but he was because it was fun probably. Um,
Yeah.
and so there's similarities there, but like Punisher has those kind of those hero moments, like that anti-hero mentality, and I
Yeah.
find
Like he
that
doesn't
infinitely
kill.
more interesting.
Yeah, like he doesn't kill cops. He doesn't kill. Well, he doesn't kill clean cops unless they're crooked, then he'll kill them.
Right.
But like he doesn't go out of his way to kill cops. Like if the cops are chasing him, he won't do anything to them. He definitely won't kill kids because he has that trauma with his family doing. And also he idolizes Captain America, like
Which is really cool.
and yeah, like he's the ultimate soldier, and Frank Castle was a soldier in Vietnam, the Gulf War. Depending on what Marvel continuity you're looking at, like that's if Captain America confronts him, Punisher usually falls in line with him, usually, and he
Yeah,
just
and
tries
like
to
one of
impress
my
him.
favorite things like that I remember from Punisher as far as being like a hero, like a hero moment, that kind of proves that he does have a heart and a conscience and everything. Is slight spoilers for like a 7-year-old thing I think. Um, at the end of Peter Parker's Ultimate Spider-Man run, like he's being beat up by Green Goblin, like this whole thing, and Punisher is there trying to take out Green Goblin, and kind of inadvertently save Peter, um, and Peter gets killed by Green Goblin, and the Punisher can't like stop it, and it's kind of a traumatic moment that I actually really enjoy because it like you can tell it gets to him even though it was just a job for him,
Yeah,
and that's kind of cool. Uh, So yeah, I find those moments more interesting when you're just like, I'm just here because I was told to be here. Like I was paid to do this job, but then like it still bothers them because they're human. Whereas like
yeah, like
Joker just does whatever he wants
one
because he doesn't even have to be paid. He doesn't care. He's just a
yeah
monster.
one big one. One big one we neglected is Deathstroke.
Yeah.
Like Deathstroke's pretty much like an anti-hero now. Like which is crazy considering if you only watch the show Arrow, or like if you've read any comics prior to his current series, like he's a villain, but like he's definitely more anti-hero now than he's ever been, which is interesting.
I mean, even on Arrow, like the season finale was really cool because like they really played with that idea of like, yeah, uh, like Arrow, Oliver, let him out, and like kind of he had that moment of like, if you help me, like you live basically, and so they play this whole time of like, yeah, I'm your partner, but then like they tease and like, oh no, you betrayed him, like,
Double cross.
yeah, and then it's like he double crossed the
I
double
betrayed
cross,
you.
and
You
like
betrayed me.
so like the
Betrayed
whole
you again.
episode plays with that idea of like we know him only as a villain that hates Oliver. But they've made this whole thing of like everyone else only knows him as a villain that hates Oliver, so they can use that to their advantage. And who knows? Like this season seems like he's gonna be out. Like there's gonna be that rivalry's gonna be back, but more like the Flash Rogues rather than just like a villain. And again, the Rogues are another good example. Like I find them fascinating because like sometimes they team up with Flash to take out bigger people. Sometimes he's stopping them, but like he lets them go, and that's so cool to me. Like villains that aren't always villains. I love that. And so I do agree that I wish we'd have more like overt anti-heroes, but I think it's just kind of bled into every other story more. So we're getting that stuff more often just with the regular heroes instead of, specific anti-heroes as characters.
I think that's enough on that topic.
Yeah.
I think an interesting discussion.
True, it was. Yes, so moving on. My topic's actually just about like healthy eating. I've been trying to be better at that lately, and I know that it's a big nerd culture out there. I get that, but this does kind of tie into that because when you're especially like I work in an office job, I come home and mostly like either edit videos or talk to you guys sitting here at my chair. Like it's a very sedentary lifestyle, So it's kind of hard to like be healthy, and that's a problem that a lot of us have. And our culture really doesn't help it at all. Um, it's really easy just to go out there and get like a dollar burger at McDonald's and take that home for your dinner. Like unhealthy food is really cheap, mostly because it's completely fake. There's like nothing nutritional in it. There's even things that say like if something's branded like healthy choice or whatever, it's not. It's the entire opposite of that. So there's this whole market out there of like basically selling health to people that don't look up what they're eating, if that makes sense. Um, so I just kind of wanted to go into that as a broad topic because I have been working on figuring out like what works as far as like healthy eating, trying to exercise more, things like that. But my big complaint here is like the health food industry as a whole, because you can look at things like the like protein bars as an example. They sound like they should be good for you because they're protein, but while they're like chocked full with like usually like 9 to 10 grams of protein per like tiny little bar, they also have like a bunch of sugar and like sodium and MSG a lot of times, like just all this like bad crap that completely negates what the protein should do, because it's essentially an energy source, like a natural energy source. But your body is too busy breaking down all that sugar that it's not really using the protein for anything. Um, and I know like I'm being very kind of generic here. Like it obviously is more complicated than that. So don't like complain to me like you don't know what you're talking about, because I'm just trying to make it easy to understand. It's not totally accurate. But the point is, like, your body's going to break down all the sugar first. So all this stuff is like chocked full of preservatives and things like that to keep it on the shelf. And anything that has a long shelf life is not good for you. Just blanket statement. It's not. If something can last that long and stay fresh, it's been like genetically, not chemically modified to crap. Um, and it's upsetting because there's, like I said, there's a whole market out there for these things that claim to be healthy, like frozen dinners that are like meat and veggies, and they're not terrible for you. Like there's much worse things you can eat. Like I said, if you go to McDonald's for every meal, like it's gonna majorly affect you more so than like eating a healthy choice frozen dinner or something every night. But those things are still so full of other stuff that like the minor nutrients you're getting are being offset by all the bad stuff. But it looks like healthy eating on the cheap, so people do it, and I get that. Like it's not easy to like make fresh meals every day, on a limited budget. That's why a good portion of at least America is overweight. Um, it's like our fast paced, like underpaid lifestyles just don't facilitate healthy eating. Um, but there's I'm learning it's not super hard to do. It just takes a little bit of like education and prep. Because basically, like all you really need to worry about is meat and vegetables. Like it sounds really simple, and it's not as simple as it sounds. But also, like everything else is processed. If you look at even like bread, there's that joke in Scott Pilgrim. It's like bread makes you fat. Yes, bread makes you fat. And it's sad because bread is so good. But yeah, like even things like people choose wheat over white. Doesn't matter. Usually
you're still gonna get fat.
Right. Usually that grain they use, like if it's all like whole grain wheat or something, that grain is so processed that it's not even like what the original ingredient should be.
Yet it's still considered the quote unquote healthier option. I know because my dad bought only wheat bread for years.
Yeah. And sometimes it's even like there's more sugar content in it. Not really sure why, but there's like a gram or two difference between like wheat and white half the time. I've been looking
That's
more
why
at
I
that
buy
stuff.
white bread.
Yeah, might as well. There's really no difference. And like obviously you have to have more than just meat and veggies, but like everything else is such in such moderation that I'm saying like the main focus, like as far as eating healthy, is just meat and veggies. And for the longest time, like there was this whole thing going around like don't eat red meat, like it's so bad for you, like eat lean cuts of meat, blah blah blah. And that's where the issue comes in. Like, that's kind of my big topic here. I'm kind of dancing around a lot of things right now because it's been a lot of research on my side. But the main problem is, depending on where you go on the internet, you're going to find entirely different stuff about what's healthy. You could go to one site and see that, like, potatoes are good for you. You could go to another site that says, avoid potatoes, they're full of starch and carbs. Like, completely, like, both are technically true. Because potatoes can be good for you depending on your diet. But if you're trying to do, like, for example, kind of a traditional, like, modern diet is high fat, moderate protein, low carb. And so then basically you're just focusing on, like, fatty cuts of meat and, like, green leafy vegetables. That's most of your intake. So you're getting, high fat, like, protein from the meat, and then your veggies for various, like, kind of chemical balances, like your vitamins, your calcium, that kind of stuff. Which, again, some of that can come from a little bit of dairy and stuff too. Again, all of that in moderation. But the main things you're trying to avoid are sugar and carbs. That's kind of the basics there. So, you can do things like eat a sandwich with a lettuce wrap, which I haven't tried yet. It doesn't sound great, but you can do it. And it's really not that hard to do. Like, if you just do, like, steaks instead of burgers on a bun, great. You can still barbecue every night and, be healthy about it. You can't put, like, a bunch of barbecue sauce and stuff on there because, again, sugar, like, high fructose corn syrup, all that stuff is bad. But, you can season it. Like, you can, do some really good stuff with your meat. Yeah, you can do some really good stuff with your meat. That's what I said. And it, comes out great. And, you do, like, a side of, like, a little bit of, cottage cheese or something, like full-fat cottage cheese, or, like, a basic salad with, like, an oil-based dressing instead of, like, low-fat ranch or something, because that's another thing. I know, I'm jumping all over the place, but it will all tie in. Anything that says, like, low-fat, low-sugar, whatever, like, when it pulls something out of it, you can guarantee whatever it's replacing with it is way worse for you. Always do, like, the full fat or, like, full whatever version of things. The only exception is, like, if you can find something that's zero sugar, which most of those things you probably don't want to eat anyway because it's, like, candy or soda or something like that. But if you can find something that says zero sugar and, like, the replacement is, like, a natural substance like honey or stevia or something like that, that's fine. But most of those other things, like, if it's no sugar, they replaced it with, like, high fructose corn syrup, which technically is not sugar, but it's way worse. Things like that.
Yes, it is.
Or it's just, like, twice as much sodium for some reason. So, yeah, it's really important to do, like, good fats, which, again, you can get from meat. You guys have been making fun of me for my grass-fed butter. It's like, how do they feed the grass to the butter? But it's like, the cow was grass-fed. They got the butter from that, so it's better because it doesn't have all the, like, toxins of, like, what is it, probably corn-fed cows? I don't even know. I don't really pay attention. I just buy it. And so, like, yes, you're still getting the dairy intake, but it's, like, it's healthy fats. Doing, like I said, better oils. Like, the main two you'd probably want to focus on are coconut oil or olive oil, which, again, is a small change. Like, you can cook with both of those, and it's still oil. Like, they're all pretty much the same. It's just kind of different taste, if it adds a taste to it. But, like, it doesn't have all the gross stuff that, like, vegetable oil, canola oil, like, those are way worse for you. So I got this big thing of, I think it's cold pressed olive oil. Something about that is different. I don't really know what, but yeah, I cook everything with oil. Like, that, people used to say that's bad. Like, don't cook anything with oil, use water or whatever. But if you're using, like, good, like, proper fat oil, like, that's great. But anyway, the point in all this is that our bodies have kind of been trained over the years to digest sugar, because that's our main intake. Like, that's what's in a lot of these processed foods. It's just, like, mass amounts of sugar for flavor. Because they'll pull, like, a bunch of things out of it. Like, they'll genetically I keep saying genetically. They'll chemically process the meat together, so they like pull all the gross parts of meat, grind it all down, and then like form that into a hot dog or a hamburger patty or something like that. And because like there's no like good actual like nutritional value there, like they've stripped all the stuff that's meat out of it. They have to kind of like add the flavor back in. So they do like meat flavoring and like sugar to make it pop more, so you actually get like a full flavor out of it and everything like that. And all that's garbage. Like eat real meat, just like actual cuts of meat, or get like some ground beef and make your own patties or something like that if you're wanting to do hamburgers. Um, Avoid the processed meats like chicken nuggets, hot dogs, that kind of stuff. There's value in there every now and then. Like you can cheat, it's fine. I had mozzarella sticks tonight because they sounded delicious and I wanted to get rid of them. But I also had like a good cut of steak. Yes, I ate mozzarella sticks and steak. Don't judge me. But yeah, like there's ways to just kind of minimize the fault. You can have a sandwich every now and then. That's fine. They say, like, what I've been reading, again, all of it varies depending on where you go. Take this with a grain of salt, metaphorically speaking. But kind of the general consensus of what I've been reading is when you're doing kind of like a high-fat, low-carb thing, you want to kind of like reset your body every 7 days or so. Because basically what it does is it shifts your body from processing that sugar, which makes all the fat kind of like settle in your body because it's not processing that, to processing the fat because there's no sugar to digest. So that's how our bodies are supposed to be. They're supposed to be trained to process fat, so it doesn't just hang on you like it does on me. But because we eat so much sugar, the I think it's the liver or kidney, one of those, is kind of, it takes priority and processes that sugar instead. So like all of the work your body is doing, like the calories being burned, are burning sugar instead of fat. So it's really a simple idea, to cut out the things that are keeping your body from processing fat. But like if your body gets too good at that, I guess technically, it's going to burn less fat per calorie, because the efficiencies build up. So you have like one day of just like eating a pizza or something, and it's like oh no, what did you do to me? And then for the next week or so you're good to go back to that because it's like it throws it off. It's not sure what to do anymore. So like I'm not saying that to change your life, because you can't do a diet. Like diets don't work. You're just going to lose the weight. You're going to go back to how you were doing, and then blow it up again because your body is confused. It's going to store everything. You have to do lifestyle changes, which is what I'm trying to do and trying to share. I don't want to be one of those guys that just like everyone should be healthy. Like whatever, take whatever you want out of this. I just kind of wanted to share because I've been learning a lot, and what's the point of digesting information if you don't share it with people that might want to know? Who knows? If not, you probably already skipped this or stopped listening. So whatever, no loss. But the point is, like, I'm not saying to just like completely change the way you eat forever. You can have a pizza every now and then. You can have a sandwich every now and then. You can have like a bowl of ice cream, but just not constantly. Like a few weeks ago, I had kind of like a goodbye celebration with Taco Bell, because that was always my vice. So it's like, I'm gonna have one last day of Taco Bell, just like get it all out of my system. So I went there, I got way too much food, I came home, I ate it, and I felt miserable. I hadn't had like any fast food in probably a few weeks. I've been like exercising more, I've been starting to eat better, not quite there yet, but learning. And that was just like complete garbage food. I had no energy to work out. Like it was terrible. So like once your body acclimates, like you'll want to do it. It's just like drastic diets where it's like, they have all these ideas like you can only eat potatoes for 30 days. Okay, what do you do after that? So like small changes. Like I love meat, so I love that I can still cook steak, or like have a hamburger. If I just like, I could probably do that on a lettuce wrap too. Pickles, like mayonnaise actually isn't bad for you if you get like actual mayonnaise and not Miracle Whip. So, do like a little bit of barbecue sauce just because. Again, a little bit isn't bad for you. Mayonnaise, lettuce, no bun, still a hamburger. You can do like some cheeses, like usually really soft cheeses like mozzarella, or really hard cheeses like cheddar, or actually, usually like they're good fats for you again. So as long as it's not the fake processed stuff like American cheese, or sadly my favorite pepper jack, which will take some getting used to, but I can do it. um, like those are fine. Um, and like full fat creams, like if you do milk, do whole milk. Um, Heavy cream is actually a good substitute for a lot of things. Like I was talking about, my vice is pizza. So I was saying possibly sometime this weekend I would make like a homemade pizza. That's a I'm gonna get really like healthy and nitty gritty here and sound super pompous, but I was gonna make a cauliflower crust pizza. Uh,
Oh, look at
I
you.
know, right? Look at whatever. Just move on. No, a cauliflower crust pizza with homemade Alfredo sauce made basically out of like the grass fed butter, heavy cream, a little bit of garlic. Just kind of mix all that together for the sauce, and then do like mozzarella cheese and like chicken and spinach on top.
Can you
Um,
stop making me hungry, please?
right, like that sounds delicious, right? And like that's like a totally legit like healthy pizza. It's gonna be a lot of work, I'm sure. I've never done cauliflower crust before. Um, but like the ingredients are all there. You've got your crust. It's just not grain based. You've got your sauce, which a lot of people do Alfredo pizzas anyway. They just usually use like really crappy processed, store sauce or something. You got your cheese. You got your toppings. Like it's possible to do. It's just a lot more work, and in some cases, a lot more money. Uh, Recently, like every weekend, we've been going to the store to get various ingredients, like some kind of meat, various veggies, um, kind of basic things like that, and I'll just make like a big pot of whatever I want for that week. Like this week, it was like kind of a chicken and veggie soup. Um, so I toss all that in the pot, just literally like meat, veggies, and some seasoning. So I know exactly what's going into it. It's nothing nothing I don't want. And then I put that in Tupperware for the whole week of work lunches. And then for dinner I come home and like either do leftovers of stuff from the weekend. Like this week I barbecued last weekend, so I've been eating pork steak all week, which there's worse things to have left over. um, or like make some kind of quick healthy thing, like a chicken wrap, or something relatively small, but still good for you. um, and it's actually been really convenient because like I don't have to think about what I'm gonna make for lunch in the morning. I have more time to like do my wake up. I make my coffee. I sit down, scroll through random stuff on my phone. Respond to notifications, whatever, and then like a minute before leaving, I just grab the Tupperware out of the fridge, throw it in my lunchbox, and head out the door. Like no problem. Before it was like I'd have to. I mean, before I was eating a lot of frozen stuff, so it was like grab a hot pocket, put some ramen, like grabbing multiple things from different places, and like making sure I have all the like utensils and stuff I need. No, just grab one thing, put it in there, and I'm good. It's a little more time out of my day on Sunday, but also like that's kind of the perk of just like throwing everything in a pot. Is like I cut it all up, which takes a little bit of time, put it in there, set the heat, and then go do whatever I want for an hour or so. Come back, stir it a few times, go back, wait for it to cool, put it in Tupperware, and it's done. Like it's not a lot of time out of my day, and it's a major change. Like I said, I was eating hot pockets and ramen for pretty much every meal, and that's awful. And I mentioned last week, like I was working grocery store stuff for a while, and like just eating whatever was there, and it was usually that kind of processed, like the healthy choice meals and stuff like that, or like stuff out of the deli, which was also bad, and that made a huge difference. I like people say I hide my weight well, but I gained like 30 pounds in 4 months, maybe like 4 to 6 months. It wasn't good. um, so I'm trying to kind of get all that off before the wedding. That's why I'm being so like pretentious about all this. Is like I was feeling like my body was aching. I'm like 28 and I felt like twice that age. So just like the small changes I've made, I have like infinite more energy. I don't feel nearly as tired. Honestly, I've had trouble sleeping because I'm still awake when I go to bed. Um, I wake up groggy because, like I said, I'm not sleeping well. But that's because I guess I have too much energy. I don't know. And like I'm pretty focused throughout the day, whereas before, like by 10 o'clock or so, I'd be falling asleep. And especially like after lunch, there's kind of that that quick drop off. That like
Lethargic feeling.
yeah, that like 1 or 2 p.m. just nappy feeling, and I don't have that anymore. Like I feel like everything I'm eating is like kind of benefiting me rather than like slowing me down. Um, and there's something to be said for that. Like I wouldn't talk about it if it wasn't important. I think. But the big issue here, and like the thing I think you might have some input on, possibly. I've been dominating this entire conversation. Is the amount of information on the internet, and like this kind of this how they're marketing health food as a thing, so people think they're getting healthy when they're not. You know what I mean? Like the Atkins bars that are 90% sugar, but are supposedly good for that Atkins diet, whatever that is. And like like I said, the frozen dinners that claim to be healthy, and they're really just healthier. Or like McDonald's, for example, is starting to do like a menu of like artisan sandwiches that are supposed to be better for you. And like the fresco menu at Taco Bell, and it's like it's this illusion of health with still garbage, low quality ingredients, and it taints the whole idea of people getting healthier because they think these small changes they're doing are making a difference. Or diet sodas, which are like the worst thing you can put into your body, aside from probably cocaine. But the research is still out on that. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to know your take, because I'm not knocking your life or anything. I know with working at Walmart, like it was the same way for me. You probably eat more fast food than you're proud of, and it's hard to make proper meals because it's a hectic schedule. I was in the same boat. I know how it was.
No, I mean, even before Walmart, I still eat like shit.
Oh,
Like I'm like it's not just a Walmart thing. I mean, granted, it has been better since Walmart, since I started working there. But it's just like it is what it is. There was a point in my life where like football, and I was still in football, and a little bit after when I was out of high school and in college, where I was like actively running, and I had time to do it. Like I would say about 10 years ago, I was in the best physical shape of my life. Like, and you're right. Like a lot of the reasons why I don't do it is because like it's money. Like a lot of it's just like I don't have. I get home, like, and especially for me, like I take the bus everywhere, right? So it takes a while for me to get anywhere from point A to point B, and I've settled with that fact. But like, if I'm running errands and I come home, just like I really don't want to fucking spend another hour cooking anything. Just fucking throw it in the microwave and I'll eat it, or just put something that'll take me like 5 minutes to cook up or something.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. A lot of it is on me. Like, that like that's just I consume garbage, and no, that's not healthy. And I've jokingly said to my friends, "Well, I'm probably gonna be dead before 30, so say goodbye now." Which is not. Don't take that seriously. It's just something it's just my
Don't you die on me, Ben?
Says, yeah, no. It's just like it's what's funny is that like I've had people tell me you look like you're losing weight. Well, let me get this summer and I walk everywhere, so it's probably like me just sweating everything off after but I doubt it's that
does
much.
help though. Like I said, I sit all day. Like at work, I try to fidget a little bit and try to get keep my blood flowing basically. But like I sit all day, and then I come home, like I cook dinner, which is I like to do because it's actually an active activity, and then I ride the exercise bike for a little bit, and then I sit all night. So like you're at least more active.
Yeah, like I walk everywhere. At work, I'm not in one static position. I'm constantly picking stuff up, pushing stuff down, going like I'm constantly moving at work. When I'm at home, though, it's just like I'm really only like when I'm at home, the hours I'm home, I'm usually sitting down or lying down though. Like I'm just like I'm tired. Like it's just my body hurts. I mean, a lot of it has to do with the fact that I played football for years, and a lot of it is that.
Yeah.
Like okay, I can't. Like you work an 8-hour day. So all I want to do is come and sit home. But a lot of it is on me of why I don't eat healthy, and I should. Um, it's just like it's so much easier. Like I don't have time to eat this, or like you said, a lot of the things that are available somewhat cheaply or that are quote unquote good for you are not really good for you when you take a closer look. That it's just marketing talk to get people to buy their products more, which sucks. Because I'd rather, at least I know, like when I go, like when I go to eat McDonald's breakfast, I know that's not bad for me, but at least they're not trying to lie to me about it in front of my face.
Yeah, right. You know what you're getting there, at least.
Yeah, and plus the McGriddle tastes so good. I'm sorry.
I know.
Remember when that was a big deal? Anyways, but yeah, so don't eat like shit. Start young. And a lot of it, and like Zero's right, diets are bullshit. A lot of it comes down to self-discipline, and just moderation. Nobody says you can't. Like to me, I think it's so. And I hear this all the time because I live. Austin, Texas, is one of the most healthiest cities in America, from a recent survey. And like because there's like running routes everywhere. Like, and I was one of them for the longest time. Like people will jog downtown all the time, so you see a lot of healthy people everywhere. And me having to interact with people, I hear like, well, you should do this and this, and I'm like, I want to tell them that. I'm like I tell people every time, it's like it's all moderation. If you and I tried this, I tried to quit sodas cold turkey once.
Yeah,
I got sick because my body didn't know what the hell to do. So it's all about balance. It's all about knowing what your limit is and knowing, okay, this is what I should be doing. This is what I know my body can handle with less of it. And just start weaning yourself off there to ultimately you don't need it anymore when your body is like, well, okay, this is my substitute now. Never do anything cold turkey. Never do anything cold turkey. That is the dumbest thing you can do, is my opinion. And just moderate. Don't feel guilty about having that pizza once a month. Don't feel guilty about, like especially football season's coming up, having a soda, at your party, a couple of sodas at a party,
cracking open a cold.
Don't feel guilty about that. Exactly. Don't feel bad about that.
That's what kills it. The guilt. You're like, oh well, I already screwed it up. Well, I guess I could do more, and then you're done.
Exactly. You understand your limit. Understand it's okay to break that limit every once in a while, but don't go overboard. Me, I don't do those limits. So I drink whatever the fuck I want. Don't do that. But like, understand that you don't have to punish yourself for this. And I feel like a lot of people confuse healthy with being fit, because like you can still be somewhat big and be healthy.
Oh yeah, it's body type.
You can exactly, like, I mean, forgive me, professional wrestlers are big, but they're healthy. I mean, besides the back injuries and the injuries and the concussions, but like football players, same thing. They're healthy, they're big, so you don't have to be like this 6-pack model looking dude or a woman. You could be somewhat plus size and still be a healthy person.
Yeah.
So that's all I really have to say about it. Don't be like me. Don't eat like shit. I'm going to continue eating like shit because that's what I know. I try to be better, but then I know myself because I'm a self-destructive asshole. So there's that.
If you know yourself, then you know you can change. But that's beside the point.
Yeah,
I'm not wanting to be preachy. I'm just putting the information out there for people that want it. But yeah, like, again, I'm not trying to like toot my own horn or anything because I really don't like my body right now. But people have said like, oh, you don't seem fat or anything, and it's like, I'm 5'6", so I'm a pretty short dude. Like, ideal weight for my like height and age and everything is like 140. I'm not that. So like, yeah, I'm not like super big or anything, but like there's a difference. Like it's like you said, it's all about your body type. If you're 6'5" and like stocky, you could probably be 250 pounds and no one would know. I can't do that. So I have to be a lot more careful about what I eat and things like that. So that's why I'm making those changes, because like I said, I've felt a lot better just in these past few weeks of making small changes. Because it's kind of funny. Like the first thing I did was like 2 or 3 years ago, give up soda, like you mentioned. I didn't do it cold turkey. I did a little bit. Like I didn't stop myself from getting soda, but like I didn't keep it in the house or anything, and like I didn't order it at restaurants. So it was kind of one of those things where like I'd go to Taco Bell and I'd still get the Baja Blast because they just go together. But like I wouldn't buy sodas to keep in the house or anything like that. Or like if if someone like if all they had in their fridge was soda, sure I'd take one, but I'd take one. As a kid, I literally like I had a bedroom in the basement, and we had a mini fridge down there that was just full of, at the time, various Mountain Dew flavors and Pepsi Blue, and I would empty that thing in like a week during the summer. So like basically soda was running through my veins. Now I haven't had any in over 2 years. But like it's funny because for a while, like I said, I was running around all over the place like with my work and everything, and so I was drinking a bunch of like I would have coffee in the morning, and then throughout the day I would drink like 2 or 3 energy drinks, like Monster, Rockstar, whatever was the cheapest at the store. Um, and so I was like, I haven't had any soda. That's soda. Like, come on, that's soda. But to me, it was different. So like I kept saying, yeah, I haven't had any soda, but I still do energy drinks. Like modifying things like that is the problem. You can say like, you know, oh uh, like yeah, I eat at Taco Bell, but I only get things off the Fresco menu. You're still eating Taco Bell. There's not that much difference. So it's things like that, like the like I said, don't feel guilty about the things you do. Like if you do something, do it. But like making excuses for why you do it is just basically saying I don't really want to commit to this, but I'm going to say I am.
Well, I mean, I'm just gonna be who I am and just eat what I want to eat.
Right, and that's fine. Like you've accepted that. Well, it might not be fine in a few years, but
no.
Right now it's fine because that's who you are. That's what you've accepted in your life. I accepted that for a while too. I tried to give up Taco Bell a few years ago, and I went like maybe 2 months without it, and then I tried it again, and it was literally like the floodgates opened, and I went probably like 3 times in 1 week.
See, that's bad.
Yeah, and for a while, like we were getting pizza probably once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. Pizza Hut specifically, and we'd go to the store and load up on like frozen pizzas and like chicken nuggets and whatever else, like a lot of frozen stuff that was easy to throw in. So all of our meals, after sitting in a desk all day, was coming home eating this like heavily processed food with like a bunch of condiments and stuff on it. Garbage. And what's funny is kind of as my final point here, because I know we've talked about this for a long time. People say that like eating healthy is expensive, and it is. Like just per food, you're paying more because it's real. A lot of that comes down to the farmers, like the cost of actually like keeping farmers working these days, because it's not the same business it used to be. Sorry. But yeah, there's a whole thing behind that on the business side I don't really want to get into right now. But it is getting more and more expensive to keep healthy, like, good organic food because these farms just don't work the same way. They keep all their animals in disgusting pens where they, like, gorge on the same crap that we're going to be taking in our bodies by eating that. All that stuff. So to actually get good stuff, you have to pay at a premium. But when you eat healthier food, you eat less of it. Like that's kind of my final thing here. Is like you can make the same, like, if you spent, let's say, $30 at McDonald's, which why? You're gonna get, a really like a lot of food for that money. But you're still gonna be hungry and like, feel gross for a while. Probably diarrhea all that out and then feel hungry within like 3 or 4 hours. You could get $30 worth of healthy food, like, good meat, a few veggies to throw in there with it, make like a really nice meal, and be good for like the day. My kind of go-to like breakfast basically has been a banana, which has its own share of issues as far as the natural sugars in there, but again, moderation, it's fine. A banana and like a kind of a coffee mix that's like, regular coffee, like black coffee, grass-fed butter, and coconut oil blended in like a they call it an immersion blender, but I just use the Magic Bullet. Um, Mix all that up. It kind of creates like a foamy like latte consistency, and it's actually like really creamy, a little sweet, and it's all that kind of good like healthy fat that you're taking in just through your coffee. Like some people drink that just as their breakfast without anything else on the side. Um, but the point is, like before, I was eating like cereal or Pop Tarts or something in the morning, and that sugar rush would end at like 9:30 or 10, and I'd be starving. So I'd have some kind of snack, like a protein bar or something with me. So I'd eat that, and it would get me to about noon. I have lunch at 12:30, so I'd just kind of be like sitting there like antsy, like, oh, I'm hungry, I gotta eat, and then I'd have my lunch, which, like I said, is also garbage. So with this, like, I keep some peanuts, just like some basic peanuts in my desk, just in case, a quick protein boost in the morning. But I can easily like go, the entire morning, like not even noticing. Like today, it was like 11:30 or something. I was like, I haven't had any peanuts this morning, and so I like ate a few just because, like I said, it's kind of nice to have that protein boost, but I didn't need to. Like hadn't thought about food yet, and that's a typical morning. So it's like you're like you factor in, a cup of coffee with like kind of expensive butter and a thing of coconut oil, which isn't that expensive with how long it lasts. And this is just one example, but factor that in with like the cost of regularly getting Pop Tarts, because I would eat like two a morning. The package of them, there's like 6 in a package. Two Pop Tarts and then a protein bar, and then like whatever I'd have to spend on my lunch. And that's if I didn't eat in the cafeteria. Like the costs even out there over time, because you're paying less to have to eat more, if that makes sense. So there's something to consider. The upfront cost isn't necessarily the actual cost over time, because the food lasts longer. So that's my final little thing there. But now that I've done boring people, let's move on to the news. Nope. There we go. Okay, so the first weird thing I found, like I said, this is a slow news week, so bear with us. Ralph Macchio is set to star in a Karate Kid sequel series airing on YouTube Red in 2018. So much about this sounds pathetic.
I think honestly for me the biggest thing is the fact that it's on YouTube Red.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't fault Ralph Macchio for doing another Karate Kid movie. I mean, the movie's over 30 years old, by the way.
This is a TV series.
It's one of the greatest. I know. But like, I'm referring to the original Karate Kid.
Yeah. As
itself, it's like one of the greatest movies of the 80s. It's a cult classic. It's not a cult classic. It's a classic. I just think if it was, I think I'd be more excited if it was on Netflix or even Hulu or Amazon.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's on YouTube Red, it's just like, ugh.
Well, the problem is, like, YouTube Red has some legit good stuff. Nothing I've watched because I don't have YouTube Red. But I've seen the trailers and, like, heard some stuff about these things. And, like, they have some legit stuff on their repertoire. But people don't take them seriously yet. So something like this just doesn't help that mentality. Because the Karate Kid is great. Again, like you said.
It seems like a joke.
But, yeah, the idea of, like, a follow-up sequel still starring the original two kids, because it also has William Zabka, like grown up, and I think it says something like they have a 30 years after the events of the 1984 karate tournament, a down-and-out Johnny Lawrence seeks redemption by reopening the famous Cobra Kai karate dojo, reigniting his rivalry with a now successful Danny LaRusso, who has been struggling to maintain balance in his life without the guidance of his mentor, Mr. Miyagi.
That sounds sad and depressing.
Right? The show is about two men addressing past demons and present frustrations the only way they know how, through karate. So it's basically just like they probably have like dojos like across the street from each other, and they're just staring at each other like, yeah, see? I'm gonna get you, see? on YouTube Red.
This sounds like Midlife Crisis, the series.
Yep. So again, like you said, if this was like through a more kind of prestigious venue, it might be okay. Like, people have even been watching Fuller House on Netflix just because it's on Netflix. Like, who,
to critical acclaim too.
Who really like wanted a Full House sequel? But they're watching it because Netflix has a good reputation. YouTube Red getting a Karate Kid sequel, again, another well-loved thing, a follow-up, just seems like a joke because of the reputation of the platform. And the fact that I don't think anyone really remembers Karate Kid that much. At least,
No, they just remember Daniel-san. I know that because my little brother is named Daniel, so we would call him Daniel-san for years. And Sweep the Leg, that's it.
Yeah. I remember the sequel with Hilary Swank more. Because it was 1994, so it was more my time.
Yeah, I've never seen that one start to finish.
It was good.
I did. Yeah, I believe it. Just never saw it. Yeah. I did like the reboot, the kind of reboot, the one they did with
Jaden Smith.
Not Will Smith. Yeah, with Jaden Smith. Yeah, I did like that one a lot with Jackie Chan. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's like, it's weird. I mean, I'm not saying they should have done a sequel series to the reboot, but it's weird. Like, we've had a reboot since then, but this is a sequel of the original show or movie. But again, being on YouTube, like, that's very much a young person's platform. Like, they have a show coming out about esports. And then they're also going to have a sequel series to a 30-year-old movie franchise that these kids probably don't even know because they just know the reboot. It seems a little out of touch.
Yeah, it doesn't seem it's the right audience for it. Again, if this is on Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, it'd be perfect because you have a more people who have access to those platforms are probably going to know Karate Kid, and they grew up watching the Karate Kid, and they know the moments, the crane. Even the premise, even then, when I read the description, just like, this just sounds sad.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch this. Even if it was anything else, I don't think I would watch it.
It's a pathetic nostalgia grab.
Yeah. They just give me a new Karate Kid, and they did a couple years ago, and that was fine. Just give me another one of those, and I'll take it.
But without Jaden Smith, because he's a tool.
Yeah, wax on.
Jackie Chan can still be in it. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like they basically just did this because YouTube Red actually, like, picked it up. Because it says, like, we are thrilled that YouTube Red felt the same thing the minute they heard the pitch and then stepped up with the series commitment. So it sounds like they were just taking it to all the different networks, and YouTube was like, sure, why not?
They got nothing to lose.
Right. But yeah, speaking of Netflix, kind of moving on to a better topic here. Netflix has acquired Mark Millar's Complete Comics publishing house. Well, I say complete in that it's the ones that haven't been already made. So it doesn't include Kingsman or Kick-Ass. It's unclear if it includes Wanted. I don't see that anywhere here.
It wouldn't, because Wanted was made before the imprint. Like, it's part of his imprint now, but Wanted itself as a comic book was made before, because originally his books were done under a Marvel imprint called Icon. And then when I guess the deal came up, he created Millar World. So I don't think anything with that made is it a film or was made before Millar World was a thing would be considered part of this deal, unless like he has the movie rights back. He might have the movie rights back to Wanted, and they could do
if they made a series out of Wanted.
Yeah, well, I mean, Wanted the comic book is so different from the movie,
right?
Like it's about supervillains.
Yeah, and so I think that would be like a huge property for them to use on Netflix, because it's already somewhat known. Like, it's probably the most known aside from Kingsman or Kick-Ass.
Yeah.
And it seems like it would fit the Netflix like style of show.
Yeah.
So I'd really like to see that. But he does have a lot of stuff, and like
Mark. Yeah.
Like Chrononauts, I think would be a really cool one. I've heard a little bit about
Did you read that?
No,
it's really,
but it sounds
really
awesome.
Cool. It's a short like four issue series with some gorgeous art about time travel shenanigans.
Yeah, but that concept could be expanded way past 4 issues.
Oh, definitely. They're doing a sequel. Just don't like the art. The artist is busy doing other projects.
Oh, really?
Interesting enough that I think about a year ago or 2 years ago that Sony had announced they were making a movie with Chrononauts. So who knows how that's going to factor into this? Maybe that deal fell out and they just didn't talk about it.
I mean, Sony's been quietly dropping things for a while now.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, but I just find that interesting. But like, there's so like because I don't know how many of Mark Millar's properties you've read of his. Because I think out of the two of us, I've read a lot.
I don't think I read any of them.
Okay.
I just know about them.
Well, yeah, I would say having read the most, Jupiter Legacy, because a lot of the things he does are superhero stuff or based on science fiction stuff. The one I would definitely want to see is a book that just finished recently, or technically it's in production, is Jupiter's Legacy, which is sort of about golden aged superheroes and their offspring, and and the impact of legacy and what does it mean to be kind of what we were talking about earlier about blending the idea of a hero and a villain and switching roles and everything like that, kind of like that we were talking about earlier. Chrononauts is fun. There's another book called Starlight, which is a sort of a take on Flash Gordon, where instead of it's like the young, like it's sort of like, instead of you get the typical like Flash Gordon like young character, he's old and fat, and in fact when you meet the story, he's depressed because like his wife is dead and nobody believes he's had these adventures, and he gets pulled away for one last grand adventure. And that's only a 6-issue miniseries. There's another series he did called Superior, which is basically Shazam, but really interesting and really well done in the way only Millar can. So he has a lot. Like, I wasn't a big fan of his in like the early 2000s. We sort of broke in the scene because he was basically known as the violent guy, like the over the top guy. And there's one series in here that I don't know if the website's mentioned it, but I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's basically a Batman Punisher story where like the guy's in all white and it's just grossly violent. I can't remember what that was called though, because I kind of didn't like it. But I'm looking forward to this because I haven't read all the stuff he's done, but the stuff I've read has been tip-top quality. And if Netflix can bring these either in live action or animation, because that's also an option too, it should be cool. It should be great.
I think the coolest thing about this is, I mean, obviously it's just cool that like they've acquired such a good, repertoire of stuff from an amazing creator. But this is only the third like entire catalog buyout, because this isn't a license or anything. Like Netflix actually bought all of these. Acquisition, that's what it's called. I should know that, but I'm blanking. It's hot. And this is actually the third time this has happened, which, the other two are Warner Brothers buying DC and Disney buying Marvel. So the fact that the third one is Millar World, not like, Image or anything like Dark Horse or anything like that, like companies buying those well-known names, it's like literally they just bought Mark Millar's library.
Pretty much, yeah. And
like one man's works is the third thing to get bought behind DC and Marvel.
Yeah.
It's kind of awesome.
And they're all different. I mean, some of them are the same, like superheroes, but like a lot of them are different takes on superheroes or different genres altogether. He like in the case of two of them, Reborn, which is a fantasy story, yet also there's another in Starlight. One's a fantasy one. Oh, Nemesis. That's the book I'm talking about. That's the one that's the super ultra violent Batman story. But yeah, like he's one of the better comic writers in the past 15 years, and I'm eagerly looking forward to seeing some of these projects come to Netflix in some fashion.
Yeah, and there's definitely a few that could probably be made pretty quickly. But this is interesting after we talked last week about how Netflix might not be doing well in 10 or 20 years, which I still don't think it's true. The fact that they're actually acquiring properties now means that like they don't have the licensing fees or whatever over time. Sure, this is probably a good chunk of money up front, but now they own these things. So they can do whatever they want with them. Like, yeah, there's money that goes into production.
Netflix cinematic universe.
Yeah. there's money that goes into production, but like licensing is expensive over time. That's why so much stuff drops off Netflix and gets added on all the time. There's a news story I
Speaking
didn't actually
of,
put on here that I probably should have. That they're losing the Disney deal that they literally just closed on like 2014 or something like that. And
yeah, it was only very recently. Like,
yeah,
no, 2015 probably.
yeah, I think it was. But Disney wants to create their own streaming service because that's what everyone's doing now. So they're ditching the deal they already had with Netflix. Um, so like again, that's kind of an example of like licensing is expensive. So Disney would rather have their own streaming service than put all their stuff on Netflix. But Netflix paid really good money to be the exclusive streaming for like a lot of those Disney movies and stuff. Right, pretty much as soon as they came out of theaters.
Yeah.
So like,
and it's not like it's going away immediately. You still have like a year to watch anything Disney.
It's gonna be sometime next year, I think that happens.
Yeah. So if you haven't watched by then, well, then it's your own fault.
Yeah, exactly. But that's kind of the point. Is like the more that they own and can actually make in house, the less that they're spending on all the licensing and stuff like that. So I think this is a really good sign for the future.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to Chrononauts the most because it was the most fun. That and Reborn, because Reborn's a heart-wrenching story. By the way, Mark Millar knows when to punch you in the gut emotionally when you least expect it. He knows when to tug in those emotions. So if I'm gonna give my personal recommendation before we move on, Chrononauts, Starlight, and gotta look through this list. Jupiter's Legacy. If you want to read a Mark Millar book that I think exemplifies his skill as a writer, those 3 series. And they're all amazing. And the thing is, he always gets the best artists to work with him. Top tier, best in the business. Because he probably pays really well too, because of all the money he's made.
Oh yeah.
So go check this out. That's your homework.
I was going to transition from Disney, but you kept talking. So
my bad.
On the topic of Disney, there's been a little bit of a tease of a possible Guardians of the Galaxy spinoff, and it would be about the Ravagers, which, I mean, that's fine, I guess. But basically, it would be a standalone movie for the team that we saw at the end of the last movie, which was like the original 1960s Guardians lineup. But yeah, that's like Stallone and his team. Which I thought that's what Guardians 3 was going to be about, which is like those 2 teams teaming up to take on like Adam Warlock or something like that. But if they're possibly already talking about a spinoff, like, something might be in place already, then I don't know if they'd use those characters in the actual next movie, because they wouldn't want to waste that story. But I personally don't think we need that. I don't think they're popular enough to warrant their own thing, especially with like that cast is like a great, lineup of people, but they're not franchise holders. I mean, most of them are probably too old to do a lot of the action scenes. I don't mean that to sound mean, but they specifically went with an older group of people because like they're supposed to be the original lineup. Like that's the idea. So I feel like it wouldn't have the same like intensity that the Guardians movies have had. Plus, I don't really want to hear Stallone mumble through an entire movie, because I've never really sat down and watched a Stallone movie.
You should just watch Rocky. That's his best performance.
I heard
Rocky
Creed.
Balboa. Creed, yes, but in terms of where, like, yeah, Creed's really good. I keep forgetting about Creed, but like in terms of like a Rocky movie, 1, 2's debatable, and Balboa.
Fair enough.
The other ones are just like him sort of like not being what Rocky is, but like those are his best performances as an actor where like he's not a musclehead. That's what I hate about people say about they're not, you're right, they're not franchise holders, but this is the Marvel machine we're talking about, so they don't need to be.
Yeah.
Like it could just be a one movie and then that's it.
I'm just saying like either way I'd rather see them in Guardians 3 first, so that we can understand more who they are, because they were literally just an in tag of like what is this? Who are these people? Why are they on screen right now? It seems so random, aside from Stallone, who had already been established.
Yeah.
So if you don't know who they are, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's an obscure sort of wink to Guardians of the Galaxy fans from the 1960s.
Right. Which, how many of those are there? But like, if they had them in Guardians 3 as like actual supporting or even main characters, then they could be established as their characters. People could actually enjoy who they are without, like having their own thing. But like Guardians 3 isn't happening until like at least 2020 or something like that, because they're going to be in the Infinity War movies first. So by that time, like, will all of these actors really still want to do their own solo movie after all of that and Guardians 3 and then possibly a spin-off? I doubt it. So, I don't know. It seems weird to me, but especially calling it the Ravagers. That seems to be what Gunn was kind of implying by saying it would be the Ravagers. Because, like, they're not. They'd be the original Guardians of the Galaxy team. The Ravagers are a totally different group that's already been well established. So I feel like people would go into that movie not knowing what they're getting. But whatever, it's all just weird stuff right now. But it just seemed like a strange.
That's what we said about Guardians of the Galaxy the first time, but we'll see. We'll see if it even happens. It may not happen.
Yeah,
it may not even happen at this point.
True. And staying on the Marvel bus, last week we got our first look at Domino, and this week we got our first look at Cable. And hoo boy, he looks good.
Cable.
Yeah, premium Cable. I can't make it any bigger, but yeah, he looks like spot on. Like, I don't quite know what this stuff on his neck is. It's a little terrifying.
That is what made me the happy most. That is the techno-organic virus. I don't know how they're going to handle in the movie, but basically, if you don't know, Cable is Nathan Summers, aka the son of Jean Grey and Scott Summers, aka Cyclops and Jean Grey. And when he was a baby, actually no, his mother's Madeline Pryor, not Jean Grey.
Yeah, she was a clone.
Yeah, that's right. I think it was Mr. Sinister or somebody injected him with the techno-organic virus, and it basically consumes half of his face. And basically, he has telekinetic powers, and he's basically constantly holding back the techno-organic virus from eating his entire body.
Cool.
So that's what that is.
All right. Yeah, this dude's loaded up. He's jacked. He's got the eye. Like, he looks great. I don't know what that teddy bear is, but he's got
It's probably like a Deadpool thing.
Probably. He's got the mechanical arm, giant gun. Like, anyone that might have been mad about Domino was probably totally like happy about this now, because she's as far away from her comic book as character as she could be. He's about as close as he could be.
Yeah, like even the loads of pouches.
Yeah.
The unnecessary loads of pouches. Cable's one of my favorite characters, and I'm not gonna lie to you. When I woke up Monday morning and I saw this, I nearly cried. I nearly cried because like this is just perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Rob Liefeld retweeted me on Twitter, so that was awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was like, and I met Rob Liefeld. Rob Liefeld might get shit for his art. I like his art, but like the dude is seriously one of the nicest people in comics. Like the amount of hate he gets is ridiculous. He just loves comic books. And to see
he draws what he knows. Like it all looks pretty similar, but it's his style. Whatever. Everyone has their own style.
Yeah, and people forget that he was hugely popular to the point where he could buy his own jet, and he was a model for Levi's in the early '90s. So he was popular.
Nobody makes fun of Scotty Young or whatever his name is for drawing all his characters the same way.
Right, but this is because of it's weird. It's a double standard. Rob Liefeld gets a lot of unneeded hate by the internet, but this and they've shown other pictures of him, like the close-up. The first one I saw was the close-up of him going. Shh.
Yeah, and you can really see like the face stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I was right about the eye scar over his eyebrow. Like the reason they had his eyebrow shaved, but that looks really cool when it's not just his shaved eyebrow.
Yeah. I hope he gets more ridiculously bigger guns in the movie, though. Because that's a ridiculously big gun he has, but I'm pretty sure they're going to play up the idea of Cable having ridiculously big guns throughout the movie.
I mean, he's got some pretty big guns, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, there was a picture of him on set with like him holding up a little kid dressed up as Deadpool. Dude looks jacked.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like... I mean, he was... like we saw him at San Diego Comic-Con. I mean, we weren't there, but pictures of him surfaced like... Dude's ripped.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody pointed out, like he's been training, like him working on the Goonies. He's been training this since that day. That's what he's been working towards.
Oh, it's so weird to think that was the kid from the Goonies.
Right? I don't even think about it's the same guy.
I know. Because like the first time I heard about him was in W, like that that George W. Bush biopic or whatever.
Yeah.
And then like Jonah Hex and like the first time I actually saw him in a movie because I didn't watch any of that garbage. Was Men in Black 3, and I was like, wow, he does a really good like young Tommy Lee Jones impression. Because that movie was flawed, but like he was amazing in it. And so like I never knew he was like a child star or anything, so I didn't know about him until he was probably like in his 30s at that point. But
although he looked like an old man, he constantly looks like an old man.
He's just got that grump face. He's gonna be a Clint Eastwood someday.
Yeah, the first time I saw him like for a movie, like an actual movie, was it was like it was like an LA cop movie where like the cops took the law into their own hands against Mickey Cohen. Can't remember exactly what it was called, but like, he was one of the cops in there. I was like, this dude's badass.
I don't know.
Yeah, I need a trailer for this. I need a trailer.
Yeah.
I need a trailer. I'm so this isn't Deadpool 2. This is basically X-Force 0, basically at this point. With
that's the plan.
Just put in. I mean, just put in one more X-Force character, and I'm gonna be happy because I love X-Force.
Oh, I guarantee they're going to. There'll be some kind of in-tag or something.
Yeah.
But
Give me Wolfsbane. Give me somebody. But
Wolfsbane's
I
New
can't stop
Mutants.
looking at it. He looks great. Well, New Mutants were original. I mean, in the comic books, that was the wrong choice. But New Mutants became members of X-Force. Like,
right. I'm just saying they're probably not going to have crossover there.
Probably not. There's plenty of other characters they could choose from.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to see some Deadpool Cable shenanigans because you can tell Cable's going to be the straight man for Deadpool the entire movie.
But he's going to be really funny about it.
Oh. Yes.
Because Josh Brolin has great like dry comedic timing.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Yeah. Man, I'm excited. I bet we get a trailer by Christmas.
I would expect somewhat sooner.
Well, it doesn't
maybe
come
like
out
a teaser
until
trailer,
I think
like in
June of next year. Because like the
June or
first
July.
one was Valentine's, so we got a lot of stuff ramping up around Christmas time. I would see a first trailer by Christmas time, and then ramping up of advertisements and stuff around Valentine's Day.
I would. That makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, moving on. I don't have a cool transition. I guess technically this is still Disney. The new DuckTales show, which looks fantastic and apparently is out now. I need to check the premiere. Is going to be getting
out?
There was a review for the first episode. I don't know.
Wow.
I have Disney XD on Sling. I'll have to see if it's on demand. But yeah, apparently the new DuckTales is getting a Darkwing Duck crossover, is what I was trying to get out. And this is awesome to me because I thought DuckTales was okay back in the day. I only like the new one because the cast is fantastic. And I love the art style. But like Darkwing Duck was my jam back in the day. Like I watched that show like every day at my grandma's house. Because it was one of the few channels she got. But I'd make her flip over from her soaps and we'd watch Darkwing Duck. And then I'd go back to playing with my toys and she'd turn on another soap or whatever. But yeah, I love that show. And so, like, the fact that we're getting a Darkwing Duck resurgence also is pretty great. And I hope that means it's going to be getting a spin-off show, like a new show spun off from this one. So, that's pretty much it. But I never played the Darkwing Duck game, though. I heard that was really good. Like the SNES one?
Never cared about Darkwing Duck as a child.
I mean, that's fine. As I say every week, you're entitled to your terrible opinion.
I mean, I don't have an opinion on it. I just didn't watch it. Like, it was... Like, I was more of a Hanna-Barbera kid. Like, that was what was on in my house.
Gross.
Like, I knew of it. Like, I know the DuckTales theme, and I know the Darkwing Duck theme, but it's like... My older brother, I think, was more of a Darkwing Duck kid, but, like, for me, it was like... It was Hanna-Barbera all day. Like, that's all I cared about. Anything else was garbage.
Yeah.
Not that I think Darkwing Duck back then was garbage, because, again, I didn't see it, but I'm glad fans are happy.
He was basically like a comedic Duck Batman.
No, I know what he is.
I
know what he is.
And he had a giant fluffy hat that never got in his way somehow.
Though. I
And
never
a cool
saw it
hook.
as a kid. Yeah, I'm
Whatever.
sure he looks cool, but like I never saw it as a kid, so I don't have any connection towards it.
Whatever.
That's cool that he's
Moving
in it, though.
on. You ruined my buzz.
Not even hating on it. I'm just saying I didn't see it.
In non-Disney or Marvel or everything else they own news, um, it's been officially confirmed, I guess, that Daniel Craig will be returning as 007 in the next James Bond movie. Apparently, the Showtime CEO was talking about an upcoming show that he's supposed to be working on called Purity, and said that the show has been delayed because he has to do Bond first. This all sounds like a lot of strong arming. Like, he had already lined up a thing to do, but they're like, no, you gotta be Bond. He's like, but... no, you gotta be Bond. Okay. Like, he looked dead-eyed in the last one. Why did they bring him back? But, I don't know. I'm sure they gave him a lot of money. So, there's that. But I like Daniel Craig. I just don't really like him as Bond. That's the problem. Because, like, Pierce Brosnan was kind of the opposite. Like, Pierce Brosnan's a good actor, don't get me wrong. But I thought his Bond was the best Bond, for one. Don't fight me.
Don't at me.
Yeah, don't at me. Don't at me, bro. But, like, I also thought, like, his best work was Bond. Like, he fit that character so well. Daniel Craig is, like, he seems depressed in the role. It's not fun. That's why I like Kingsman so much now, because, like, Kingsman's what I want Bond to be. So yeah, I would just want to see them kind of do another soft reboot for Bond, because every time they bring in a new actor, it's like a new soft reboot. Like, the Pierce Brosnan era was like the gadget heavy, like kind of campy era, which I loved, and those games were the best because of all the gadgets and stuff. And then they brought Daniel Craig in, and I know I'm not talking about the ones before that because I've only seen a few of them, and I don't really have like the means to talk at length on them because it was a long time ago. But Sean Connery was also amazing, by the way. Just, I prefer modern Bond stuff more, so I like Brosnan. But yeah, they brought Daniel Craig in, and like, Casino Royale was a pretty solid movie. Like, the action in it was really good. It was well shot. The character was okay, but like, it was mostly just it was refreshing because it was different. But then every other Bond that came after it was just kind of like, okay, this feels exactly like what came before. His character is boring. I'm not interested in this ongoing, like, serialized plot that Bond's never really done before. Like, it feels like it needs to start over with someone new that can be fun again. Thoughts?
I've been wanting to watch the Daniel Craig. This is another thing where I didn't watch. Like, I don't really have an affinity for James Bond. I've only seen a couple of the Pierce Brosnan movies. I've never seen one from start to finish. I've never seen any James Bond from start to finish, but I like, just through cultural zeitgeist, I know things about it. I still, you want to know what would make me see the next James Bond movie? Not Daniel Craig. Unlike you, I love Daniel Craig as an actor. I think he's great.
Logan Lucky, see it.
Huh?
Logan Lucky, see it. It comes out in like a week or two.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. But like, it's not, even him couldn't get me to see Bond. You know what will get me to see Bond though, and the only person I think who should be the next James Bond, even though he's kind of old, but I don't care. I want Idris Elba to be Bond already.
Yeah, everyone wants Idris Elba to be Bond.
Like, he should be, like, the dude, like, and he could be he can play serious Bond if they want to continue with serious Bond, but I guarantee you the dude could play fun Bond as well, and just be great. That's all I really have. I'm really surprised they're doing more Daniel Craig.
Okay. Well, I had a comment about the whole Bond and Idris Elba. Apparently, like, the guy, or Roger Moore, was like, he can't be James Bond because he's not English enough. Except, Pierce Brosnan is Irish. Daniel Craig is...
Welsh? Yeah.
He's Welsh.
Sean Connery
was Scottish.
And he was the first.
But Idris Elba was born in London, which is as English as you can get.
Yeah. Well, people have to come up with some excuses to make him sound racist.
Yeah, it'll be like the Doctor Who thing where they didn't accept Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor Who. They'll find some way to not accept
Little
Idris Elba
thingy.
as Bond.
Bye.
Thank
Bye,
you,
Brooke.
Peanut Gallery. Special guest star. We did have a guest this week. But yeah, no, you're right. Like, people always find some way to, like, make an excuse of why something shouldn't happen when they really just, like, personally don't like it. But I'll admit, Idris Elba would be a great Bond, but I don't want him to be Bond just because I think he could do better. Like, if they could do something else like Kingsman, you know, create their own series where he leads, and it's, like, it's fun. It's, like, it's better than Bond. Like, I feel like the Bond series has kind of gone downhill recently, and it's just not the hit it used to be. Like, sure, it's still an event whenever they're getting close to it happening, and it's kind of like Doctor Who, or anytime there's, like, chatter of a new actor coming in, it makes all the news, and it's like, oh, who's going to be the next Bond? But then, like, when there's a string of bad ones, people just like, oh, here's the next one, maybe it'll be better. And it's like, they're getting to 25. Like, they really need to go out strong. Or, I say go out, is like, it's a you know, milestone. Like, they want to make sure it's good. And I felt like this would have been a good chance to, like, bring in someone new, even if it's like a one-off. Just like, here's the 25th movie. It's a celebration of, you know, the past movies. Like, here's a new actor. And then, like, you know, 26 on can be someone completely new. I don't know. Something like that. I'm just saying, like, they need to mix it up somehow. It is having it be, like, the final Daniel Craig Bond just seems, like, kind of lame for, like, a milestone movie. And so, like, I'd rather see Idris Elba do something better. Like, not be shoehorned into Kingsman or something like that, but, like...
Like, you would love it if he was shoehorned into Kingsman somehow.
That would be pretty great. But, like I said, he needs to be the lead of something.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying just, like, Black Bond or something like that, but, you know, a similar type of thing, but his own take on it.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't his own thing, but he was the lead in the Dark Tower movie that just came out, so.
Yeah, but that wasn't good, so.
No, but I mean, he was the lead.
Plus, he had to share it with Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, but Matthew. Okay, don't turn this into dissing Matthew McConaughey.
I'm not. I'm just saying, like,
It's a gift of God.
It wasn't his movie. Like, it wasn't named after him or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not his own thing. Yeah. Oh, right. He was great in Pacific Rim. He was great in Pacific Rim.
Oh, I loved him in Pacific Rim.
Yes,
that's my whole thing. It's like I don't want to see Daniel Craig coming back because he doesn't want to, obviously. But I want to see someone new that, like, can do something different with the series. I feel like Idris Elba would come in and, like, he would be great, but he would continue this trend of what they've been doing lately. I want it to kind of go back to, like, the fun, weird stuff. Like the over-the-top missions. Yeah.
Yeah. They should cast an American actor. That'll piss everybody off.
Oh, yeah. Then
Fuck it. I'm James Bond.
Better get back into football shape.
Hey, man, Hollywood would pay me to look like a... No, that'll be the gimmick. I'm all fat and out of shape and Mexican. Like 007. Name's Iggy. I mean, like, I would try to do that in the takes. But yeah, I think we said enough about this topic, though.
Real quick. I picture them doing, like, you know, Austin Powers is kind of like a spoof on Bond. They do, like, a Fat Bastard spinoff where, like, he's the one they call, and he's, like, trying to run, and he's like, I can't do it! Oh!
Speaking of which, we need another Austin Powers movie in our lives.
Right?
It's been too long.
Screw Bond. Give us another Austin Powers.
Mike Myers, I know you made shitty movies over the recent years, but come on. You got one more good one in you.
He's not doing much else. He's talked about it for years. Just make it.
It stars yourself.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, as a child, I had no idea. It wasn't until, like, I was, like, 15. I'm like, wait, what? I'm an idiot.
Wow. And the final story of the night, the new Hellboy reboot has found its main villain in Mila Jovovich. She's going to be playing the acclaimed Blood Queen, which I think is pretty good. She's got to find something to do in this post-Resident Evil world. And she was always a really good, just kind of like, you know, quiet but menacing action star. So I think that'll actually be really cool. Also, we didn't talk about it, but recently Ian McShane was cast as Hellboy's adoptive father, Professor Broom, sorry. And I freaking love Ian McShane. since American Gods. So far, this cast is actually really coming along. Like, I don't want to like this reboot, but everything that comes out about it sounds actually pretty good. So, I guess I'll accept that it's happening. But yeah, that's really all about that. It's just kind of a casting announcement.
Yeah, I mean, I have not seen Mila Jovovich in a movie since Resident Evil Nemesis because I refuse. That's the only thing she's done as far as like big stuff.
She's done a few
Resident
other
Evil
things.
films, and I refuse to. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In terms of big profile stuff, she's only done Resident Evil, and I refuse to watch Steaming Hot garbage.
Yeah. She had that one like
it'd be nice to see it.
I'm sure it was some kind of comics adaptation or something. I didn't know what it was, but it was like the one that wasn't Aeon Flux. I can't even remember what it's called right now, but it was like a leading thing for her, and it wasn't good. It was better than Aeon Flux, but it wasn't good.
Aeon Flux is bad.
Yeah, and I think it was one of those they were trying to turn into a franchise.
Ultraviolet?
Ultraviolet, thank you.
No, that's the one I'm thinking of. That movie. Both of those are bad.
Yeah, but it wasn't as bad at least. Yeah, and so, I mean, she's got to find something to do, is the point.
I'm sure she could be good. This movie should be good. Please let it be good.
If it's not, will they bring back the other team?
No, because Del Toro is too busy doing other things.
Like that stupid water movie that doesn't even look good. Yeah, I said it.
Look. I mean, he doesn't always make the best movies. I mean, the last movie he made with Loki, his actual... What's his name?
I lost it. I have no idea.
What's Loki's actor? What's his name?
Tom Hiddleston.
I don't know.
Got it.
Tom Hiddleston. Yeah, he made that movie. It was gorgeous, but like that movie was bad. Yeah, like, that movie was bad. So he doesn't make the best movies, but they always are visually interesting. So,
but he keeps giving away his franchises to other people so that he can work on some new original thing that isn't good. Like he's not doing Pacific Rim 2.
I think he just loves to create. That's it. I don't think
Pacific Rim was his baby, and he didn't. I think he got mad at like how much they were controlling it and like kept delaying it, and then like fired him completely or whatever, and like he had already written it all, but they still wanted to make the movie without him, and it was this whole thing. But yeah, that was actually one of the things that I accidentally deleted. There was some information that John Boyega put out about Pacific Rim 2, saying that it takes place 10 years later, which we kind of knew, and that I was wrong about the whole like combat thing. Basically, it's like a new generation of Jaegers. They're sleeker. They're more... He says they act like ballerinas, which is not a good comparison. But it basically means like they're more fluid.
They're more agile.
Yeah, basically.
That's that means.
And so like they have to use this new... they have to come together to like kind of use these new Jaegers to beat a new team of kaiju that are a lot tougher than what they've dealt with before. So I have a feeling,
what a shock.
Yeah, right? It's basically the same movie, which is kind of upsetting, which is exactly what I didn't want. But I have a feeling they're going to do something where it's like, you know, the kaiju know about them, so like they're prepared, which could be kind of fun. Ones that are like more on the offense, like are prepared for all the tricks that the Jaegers have.
Yeah, we'll see.
But yeah, so there's just a little bit of information I forgot about, but I forgot to put in here, but I did remember. So yeah, that's all we got actually. Like I said, pretty short news week. But
yeah, but I think we had a good discussion overall.
Yeah, we did, and it actually still is going pretty long. So I guess that goes to show. But yeah, I think we'll go ahead and call that a podcast. Where can the folks find you? I don't like saying that. Plug your crap.
Twitter.com/marvelousiggy. And I'm happy to announce that by the time this is released to patrons. Well, no, when does this get released to patrons?
Friday.
Monday? Friday. Okay. When this gets released to the general public, the first episode of my Freedom Planet Let's Play will officially be out. The second part should be as well, considering that it gets released on Wednesday to everybody. So look for that. Celebration Sonic Mania. I'm officially releasing because I'm almost done with the game. Look for that. And just go to twitter.com/MarvelZiggy for all updates concerning the self-proclaimed Marvelous One. Also, go to Twitter. Go to Zero's Twitter, which he's about to plug in a second, to tell him to do a watch along with me, because that'll be fun.
Nope. You and
Let
Thomas
the
are
people
good.
know. Let your voices be heard that he wants to watch clowns face your fears.
I'm really good at ignoring people. I was bullied for many years.
Face your fears, Zero. The clowns can't hurt you from the screens.
And quick special thanks to our surprise guest star, my fiance, who refused to come on camera because she's fitting her homemade wedding dress and didn't want to be seen. But thank you for the quick moment. And I, of course, am Justin. I am at Zero Score on Twitter, YouTube, all the other places. Check out the Final Fantasy VI story play that I've still been doing. I just put up the opera episode, which any of you that know that game know how fantastic that scene is, and I did my best to do it justice. Apparently it made Ben cry, so there's that.
Makes me cry because of how awesomely talented they are.
But also it's just a really cool scene.
Yeah.
I've been told to possibly just like take that part and like release it as its own video. I think that could be kind of fun because like not a lot of people have really like compiled a thing like that, like the whole scene with like voice acting and like the proper music that's supposed to be there and stuff like that, kind of all put together in a cinematic way. So I might be releasing that too, also for people that don't really care about the series but would like to see that by itself. And of course, weekly plug to audition for Final Fantasy IX, please. I'm probably going to be closing auditions in the next few weeks. I don't think I'm going to go all the way to the end of August, because I've been doing some pre-casting and we're pretty good. I would like some more people, but I could manage with what I have now. And I want to get casting done before my capstone class starts in like 2 weeks, because that's going to be madness. So yeah, please get everything in the next week or two. Ideally, talking to you also, Ben. Yeah, that's all I got. So until next time, stay charged.